This is the Korg RADIAS from 2006, and all the videos that I've done recently, this is probably one of the most complex pieces of kit I've demoed. Back in 2006 this cost £999, so no means a budget keyboard, and then you paid an extra £129 for the keyboard. Now the Radius is a modelling synth and vocoder powered by Korg's MMT engine, so it's got analog modelling, it's got PCM samples, it's got some FM on there, you've got things like ring mod as well, it's got dual filters, it's got virtual patches, dual sequencers, arpeggiators, drum kits, effects, and this sort of unique rack design. It came as a rack module, and it can go flat, or you can have it running up. It's got full MIDI in, out and through, USB MIDI as well, and I use it as a controller actually for my TX7. It's got Mac and PC Librarian Software, and it really is a powerful synth, especially for 2006. So let's have a listen to some sound demos, and then we'll strip it back and have a listen how we can model, how we can create sounds from scratch. So let's listen to some of the sounds that either were presets or sounds that I've accumulated over the years. Got a couple of may recognise. Get this one. I won't play too much of this one because of copyright reasons. Or even another one that you may recognise. Really, I found these a bit complex, but it has got some good, useful synth sounds as well. Here's a nice pad sound. Got big brass, synth brass. Some string machines. And you hear the mod sequencer effect in the patch there. So here's one that I made using 3 sequence. Korg's version of FM. Put a bit of arpeggiator on with that. And of course, analog modelling controls on here. Nice synth strings. I'll demonstrate the vocoder shortly as well. But we have got drum kits on here as well. We've got standard drum kits. and even the model of the old ER1 as well. Plus you can construct your own as well, so you can combine all these together. Okay, so now I've got the radius in the initial patch, so we've got the basic sounds on there. This is probably the better way for me to explain the sound engine. When I've done this, we'll look at the options in the Windows software, the editor, just so that you can see, because some things like the sequencer I find a bit easier on there. So initially we've now got a single oscillator, and we can choose the waveforms, sine, triangle, square, and then you've got these controls over pulse width. So we've got these sort of analog ones. You've got audio in, so I could feed another synth in and use that as, or a guitar or something, use that as the audio in. We've got drum sounds, and if we go into edit mode, we can see a bit better. We've got the PCM, synth PCM. So this is where you can select through 64 waveforms. So there's pianos, clavinets, organs, guitar. And these are pretty much like the DWGS waveforms on the MS-2000s, just the longer waves, I think. But what you can do is, of course, all these controls can be modded using the mod sequencer or the virtual patch. But for now, let's just keep it simple, and we'll go with this square wave. So that's oscillator 1, oscillator 2. We can have a square wave, and we can alter the tuning of it, and we can then sync that up as well. So you can hear the stepping on it, but yeah, so you can create that sync effect. And of course, you can modify that through one of the patches. I should also mention as well the oscillators mod where we can do cross mod, unison, and BPM. BPM, if I go back to this first oscillator, he's creating some FM type sounds, especially go to sine wave. So you've got some almost like FM DX type sounds on there. Okay, let's go back to a simple waveform for now. So there's our dual oscillators. Turn off that. And then we've got two filters. So filter 1, you can then choose your type. So you've got a 24 pole low pass going through to a 12, to a high pass, band pass, and through. But these are gradual as well, so they're not switches, then you can switch back on. Let's turn the Jeep down a bit. I should mention as well, we've got dual ASR envelopes, one for the filter and one for the amp. Quite like the high pass, especially for string sounds. You can get sort of you can get some nice string machines. We'll come back to that. So we've got two filters, and then you can choose your filter. So we've got a single filter mode. We can have it in serial, so it goes one to the next, or parallel or individual. So we're in single at the moment. If we go to serial, we can go to filter 2, and we've got, this time you've just got the comb, band pass, high pass options. I'm going to switch back to single for now. Then we've got the amp. We can have a bit of drive on that. to drive that. And let's have a look. That's the amp one. So we could give ourselves a bit of like a string sound. We can apply some LFO. Let's change that to triangle. And then what we can do with that, using this virtual patch, we can do the LFO, and I want to get it to control this control 1. We've got a bit of pitch modulation using the LFO. What else can I do? I can put some effects on there. I've got 2 insert effects, and I can choose which ones I want on there. The phaser, and then for effects 2, we'll stick on a bit of chorus. Let's have some echo. So let's go for a tape delay. I'm sure we're going to take. And on the master effects, I'm going to put a bit of reverb on there. Right, so change the attack a bit sharper, and I can go with one of the arpeggiators. So I can alter the gate time and the tempo. Or the tempo could be synced to MIDI or USB. So there you go, basic sound programming. I've really just scratched the surface. The other things you can do with it is you can have the mod sequencer. So the mod sequencer, while a loop is playing, will alter. You can alter these patches while it's playing. So for that, you can use a step sequencer, and I haven't got one running at the moment, but we'll have a look at that shortly. So what we'll do now is switch over to the PC, so we can look at how some of the presets are made. Of course, I should say as well, we're only using timbre 1. You can combine these to 4 timbres, so that you've got combination 4 of these combinations, or you could use 1 for drum track and 3 other sounds as well. So this is the editor that I got running under Windows, and this is where you can see so you can use it as a librarian, which is great for that. You can just bring everything over via MIDI and bring it in. So what I would do with that one now, I can just receive that program we've just been not doing. Clicked on the wrong one. So this is the one that we've just been playing with. That is there. You can see the we were just using timbre 1. There's the sounds. So we go to edit it now. So all those parameters that we were looking at on the device, on the Radius, these are the virtual versions of those. So you can see I was in poly, and I've got my mixer and the filter settings, and everything is all in here. But where I found this quite useful is we can then assign a sequencer. So that's got sequence 1 on there. So we can go to sequence 1 now, and here is your sequencer, and this is where you can put your steps into the sequencer. You can record it, or you can do it this way. You can do so it's a note step sequencer, and if I've got this on now. So if I go over and put step sequencer on, you can hear those steps playing, and I could latch it if I want to. Let's delete those. Now what you can do is you can have it into transpose mode. So let's put a few in here. Just do the last, let's just do 4 steps for now, just to keep things simple. And then I'm actually going to put in some additional ones like that. So and we put it into transpose mode. As I change the key, it transposes it. Pretty simple. So that's assigned to sequence 1. On here, timbre 2, we could assign a different sound. You can hear that one, and I could assign that the same sequence. Or I could assign it something completely different, sequence 2, and I could also use the sequence 2 for a rhythm pattern, and then maybe put an arpeggiator on that. So to show you what I mean, if I go back and look at one of the other ones, so this is one I do like. So that's a kind of my advice type pattern, and this is using the sequence bass, the sweep sound, the analog strings, and the drum kit. So the drum kit is using sequence 2. So if we go to there, you can see the drum pattern that we're listening to there in sequence 2. That's not being transposed. The others are on, so the sweep sound is on arpeggiator and the bass is on sequence 1. Sequence 1 there, and that is being transposed, so that changes key as you're playing it. So that's a really good example. So if we look at if we go to edit on here, you can see this is using a square and a sawtooth wave, and yeah, you can see the envelopes and the LFO, and the virtual patching is all assigned to that as well. If we have a look at the Dark Side of the Moon one, you can see that's using sequence 1 for the bass, and it's using the rest of it is just effects. Oh, and then the hi-hat is using the arpeggiator. So that's how that effect gets done. So that's why you end up with some really, you can actually get some really complex sounds, and I've assembled these over some time, and you've got some really nice complex sounds. I found the complex ones a bit too much, and you end up stripping them down, but then you end up with some nice ones like this. This is called Far Horizon. This is a nice lead sound. And that's just using dual layers of the same sound with a bit of detuning on there to get that kind of effect. Another one of the favourites is Vangelis lead. And that is just a single version of it as well. So that's using a sine and a square wave. So this Librarian software is really handy. You can just do a complete save, and you can also, as you've seen, you can do real-time changes on the sounds as you're programming. I tend to use the front panel more than I use this, but this is great for as a librarian. And like I said, this is USB. I'm doing this through USB, and I can then use that USB controller to control the thing. So I've got them MIDI out from the Radius into the TX7, and I'm controlling the TX7 through the MIDI out, and in the door that appears as a MIDI out option. So here I've got a patch. I've just switched on the mod sequencer to do the cutoff. So if you can hear it there, you can see these little steps. I can make it smooth, isn't it? But I could choose any of these destinations. You can do all this directly on the synth as well. But and you can have 3 mod sequences, so you can do all sorts of motion to sounds, pads, strings, lead sounds, to create real interest with the sounds. So the other thing is a vocoder. You get a microphone plug in like that, just plugs in up there. So I can give that a try. You can see it on there. Go to the vocoder banks. This is the sound of the vocoder, and it's quite a nice vocoder. It's nice and sweet, and you've got control over the input levels. You can warn if it goes too high. And I quite like the vocoder. I don't use it all the time, but it is a nice vocoder, and you can fully edit all the sounds as well. Of course, the presets are pretty good as well, and you've got these options on here, so you can. And you can hear this is what we call CPU level. We've got the dual format one, and you can see we're in the format mode on there. And when you're in vocoder mode, you can do some of the format options on there, so you can change some of these sounds. You can change them just as you would through the normal synth settings, but you can see you're in format mode. Here's another one called Area Vocoder. Some more amusing ones, like this one. This is one I quite like for robot voices. That one for doing auto pause. One with a home coder on it, which we can adjust the depth of that a little bit. So that's using the audio in option, so that's what you can use the microphone for anything you want, or use another synth. We've got some nice pulse width type vocoders. We've got some voice changing type things. And then that's just using audio in. So we can feed a synth into that and use a synth to control that. So now I'm going to try the audio in option. I'm just going to set an arpeggiator playing on there. Just patched in Gen SX1000. So there you can hear the arpeggiator kicking in where I play a single note on the SX1000. Let's pan round. So there you can see the SX1000, and that arpeggiator is playing that note rather than the static note. So there you can hear the gen going through that. So just to finish off, a couple more examples. This is one with using the step sequencer and the arpeggiator, so like a slightly different part. There's the arpeggiator on. So you can see there, part 1 is using step sequencer 1, part 2 is using the arpeggiator, part 3 is using step sequencer 2, part 4 is using the arpeggiator. So overall, it's a really nice synth. It's still got a lot of useful sounds around, especially when you pair things back. Yes, some of the presets and the sounds I've downloaded over time and created myself can be a bit complicated in a mix, but you can pare them down and use it and come up with your own stuff. It's easy to program, everything's on there, you don't need the software, but you can use it if you want it. It's good for Librarian, it's got a good vocoder, you can use it for treating audio sounds in, and it's got a step sequencer and a nice selection of drum sounds as well. So I hope this video has shown you a little bit about the Korg RADIAS. I haven't got into too much detail, but it does give you a flavour of what it can do. Any questions, let me know in the comments. If you've got a RADIAS, let me know if you're still using it or if you have one. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one.